What is up, everyone? Welcome to the RotoWire Underdog Fantasy Picks Show. If you're not a member of Underdog Fantasy already, you should join one with promo code RWPicks. New customers deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Ryan and I are here to give our favorite pick'ems for NFL Week 9. Ryan, I'm going to throw it over to you. How did the picks go last week, and what are you thinking about this week?
We actually had a little bit of a down week last week. I was hoping you weren't going to ask. It had been so good before that. They got me offering a plus money touchdown for Javonte Williams, got me off of Cortland Sutton, who I was going to recommend. But, you know, we hit some other ones. I'm drawing a blank now, but Scott hit on his sack prop. And whoever I recommended first got, K. Dotton. Recommended K. Dotton first, and he smashed. Anyways, on to today. I see we have Chris Olave up there. I'm going to go higher on his number as the first one. You can see we have it up on our RotoWire Picks app there, filtered to Underdog, and you can see it's recommending to go higher. We have a projection higher than the Underdog number, and it makes sense. You know, the Saints have, I think, the best matchup on the slate. The Panthers are allowing 34 points per game, a league high. They've been torched by number one wide receivers all season. Olave had 14 targets last week, 106 yards, and that was without Derek Carr. So now we get Derek Carr back. Shaheed obviously still out. So I think Olave is just going to be a target monster for the rest of the season. And Carolina has nobody that can stop him. The next one, I'm going to go to the Monday night game off the slate. Travis Kelce, higher than 59.5 against the Bucks. The Bucks are a traditional pass funnel. I think the Chiefs might struggle running a little bit. And, without Rashee Rice and with DeAndre Hopkins sort of just getting into the fold, Kelce's really stepped up recently. I think 59.5 is a pretty low number. Mahomes has clearly been targeting him the last few weeks, and I think that continues as well. So let's start with higher on Olave receiving yards and higher on Kelce receiving yards, Jack.
Good shouts all around, Ryan. I like the reasoning there. You always like to take higher, and when I'm on this program, I like to choose some lowers. Ever the pessimist I am. But Ryan, my first pick is taking Tua Tagovailoa lower than 249.5 passing yards. Ryan, the Dolphins go up against the Buffalo Bills, who are allowing 208 passing yards per game, and they just absolutely stifled Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks offense last week. That's an offense that really is committed to passing the ball, and Geno did terribly in that game. So I feel like projecting Tua for more than 50 yards passing over Buffalo's average when they've been a disruptive secondary, good at forcing turnovers. I know they have good tools on Miami, but I don't feel like this is a good matchup on the road for the Dolphins. And I believe in Buffalo's defense. So we can see on the Picks and Prop app that this is leaning less and lower for DFS pick'em sites. Our projection is leaning lower. Sportsbook props are leaning lower. So I feel like this is a good number to attack and go a little bit lower on. My next lower, Ryan, is going to be Mark Andrews, lower than 33.5 receiving yards. Now, hear me out here. I know Andrews has been running more routes lately, but Denver has a great passing defense, allowing 176 yards per game. The Baltimore has just acquired Deontay Johnson, who stands to be active over the weekend. He's not going to play a full-time role, but I think he's going to take away some target volume from Mark Andrews. And it's going to be a favorable game script for Baltimore. They're big favorites against Denver. Baltimore have the best offense in the NFL, but they also have the most rushing yards in the NFL, Ryan. And I think that when they lead, this is a team that wants to run the ball. So I don't think it's going to be a great passing environment for Baltimore. And I think there's going to be added competition that hence be leaning lower on Mark Andrews.
Nice. I like both those. Yeah, Buffalo completely dominated Miami in that first matchup, and now they're in Buffalo for this one. I think that makes a lot of sense. I got a couple more hires. Let's start with the Colts, who are going to have Joe Flacco back. Josh Downs' number is 57.5. He's gone over that in all of Flacco's starts. Higher than that in all of Flacco's starts, considerably. And I think, Flacco will look to him to try to beat this Vikings blitz. We've seen it exposed in recent weeks. Stafford and the Rams last week put up 30 points, sort of threw all over them. And then Goff and the Lions the week before, big game from Amon-Ra St. Brown. So 57.5 yards, I think that's too low for downs. And I even think 52, you see Pittman's number all the way down to 52. I think that's pretty low too. With Flacco back, Pittman went for like 115 in Flacco's last start. So, I mean, one of those guys, with the Vikings blitzing so much, I think Flacco can deal with that. And one of those guys, maybe both, will go higher than their number. And the last one I like, it's the first time I'm going to try one of these numbers this season. It's the longest rush. So Chase Brown, 14.5 yards higher for his longest rush. If we eliminate that disaster last week against the Eagles, Chase Brown had gone over 14.5 yards in 5 straight games. On one rush. His longest rush was over 14.5 in 5 consecutive games. And it makes sense. I mean, he's a home run hitter type. And now he's sort of clearly the lead back. And this should be a much better script. Vegas is a run funnel. And you figure since he should have the lead, plenty of attempts for Chase Brown now that he's sort of moved ahead of Moss. And I like him to hit a big one on Sunday. So give me Chase Brown higher than a 14.5 yard run.
I like both of those, Ryan. Big Josh Downs fan, helpful for our fantasy team. And then Chase Brown, I think he's going to be popular in a lot of fantasy formats this upcoming week. Ryan, I have 2 hires. I can't always be pessimistic. You'll see if you're watching on YouTube, I have DeVonta Smith on the screen on our picks and props app. And Ryan, I'm interested in targeting the Eagles passing game against a horror show passing defense that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it should be a really good matchup for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to throw the ball overall. And I think this is just too low of a prop. I thought it would be 10 or 20 yards higher, even given the matchup, but you can get higher, 56.5 on DeVonta Smith. So I really like that pick. And I also am interested. AJ Brown is a little bit higher, 78.5. Now, Ryan, you'll see on the picks and prop app that DFS pick'em sites lean higher than this. You'll see that the RotoWire projection leans higher, and this has been hitting a lot. DeVonta Smith has gone 60 or more yards very frequently. I know some of that's been without A.J. Brown, but I think the defense more than compensates for this. So I like targeting DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown in a very good matchup. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Well, I hope you're right. Another guy that's on our fantasy team. I didn't even realize we have Olave and Downs. So 3 of our receivers we've talked about. So let's hope they all have good games this week because we're cruising in that league.
We are cruising in that league. So that's a wrap on that. We'll be back next week with our picks. And again, if you're not an Underdog Fantasy member, please join. Promo code RWPicks up to $1,000 in bonus cash. See you all around, everyone.
Good luck, everybody.